In the end, it took less than 30 years for the world as we know it to fall. 95% of the population died. There were a litany of causes, not that it mattered in the end. Our infrastructure failed, and with no electricity, our communications, lights, and internet failed too. There weren't even enough survivors left to tend the fields and care for the remaining livestock. As if any of us had any of the necessary skills. Those few of us who remained barricaded ourselves into makeshift fortresses, although they had no idea what we thought we were hiding from. To paraphrase that ass T.S. Eliot, not with a bang, but with a whimper, the world ended. Almost. In the late 2050s, the builders ended the crisis by combining biology, precision mechanics, and thermohydraulics to make constructs from the dead, human and otherwise. These automatons took up all the necessary repetitive tasks that keep us alive. The constructs follow algorithms and programmable, mindless cycles. The dead of all species have taken the place of slaves, and like those slaves, they have become the basis on which our recovery and our economy grow. They are everywhere. As humans, we have lost almost everything. But we do have what humanity has always had. We have hope.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Dirty 20 Gaming. My name is Kevin, and these wonderful and fine and marvelous people, as I turned on my mic because we're peaking so hard. There we go. That's a little better. These fine and wonderful people have agreed to come and join me tonight to play a game, and that makes me very, very happy. These fine and wondrous people are playing Delilah Stillwater and adjusting their camera for us as we speak. Wayward Knight, where can we find you when you're not here? Oh, good, the band hammer is in the audience.
Ooh,
Bam, bam, bam.
I am a Detroit-based artist and actor, and I sell stuff on the interwebs. You can find me here. I do need to update that really badly, but most of my stuff is on there. You can also find me hanging out on the Dirty 20 Gaming Discord. I kind of live there. I am also the GM for our new Monday night game called Grave New World, which takes place in the Buffy the Vampire Slayer universe. It is a sort of modern day version of a whole new Scooby Gang.
I and a lot of other people are looking forward to that a lot. You want to spoiler us with the cast?
Yeah.
Who have you got?
We have Bat Kyle from Tuesday's game.
Mm-hmm.
We have Gloriosa from she was Wednesday's game, right?
Many places, yes.
Many places.
Yes.
If you watch Dirty 20 Gaming, you've probably seen Gloriosa.
Oh, yes.
We have Mana Queen from she was in
many things as well.
She's been in a couple.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most recently was the Harlequin Redux.
Yes.
Harlequin Redux. That's what it was. And we have Eddie, who has been in several one-shots, and he is our resident voice actor.
Yes, he is also, run one-shots for us, been in other games, great fun. I'm looking forward to this a lot. What is our tentative, and we won't hold you to it, start date?
Tentative start date is somewhere around February 27th. Or
yes.
possibly February 27th.
Yeah. So stick tuned. There we go. Stick tuned.
There will probably also be a streamed tutorial for the system so that people can understand it and how it works.
Follow along at home.
Yes, exactly. Kind of like we did for this. But let's move along. Thank you for all of that. Let's move along. Next, playing Artemis Demasi for us. Thunderscape 7, otherwise known as Robin, otherwise known as Artiste, for this particular overlay and several others. Where else can we find you?
Well, I'm most often on the Discord, just kind of hanging out or in chat with a lot of the games that we have on here. But I do art sometimes, and sometimes I remember to post at places, like my Twitter. But I'm basically Thunderscape 7 anywhere on the internet, and so yeah.
That's even in there. I do art sometimes and eventually post to my Twitter.
Exactly.
Exactly. Perfect. Thank you. Which brings us around the table this evening to playing Sid Brimlock for us, Bison _ Stonefist. Where can we find you? What are we doing?
Generally, you find me here. I spend a lot of my time on the Dirty 20 Discord and in various games. Upcoming in the pipeline, I will be running a Cyberpunk Red campaign here on this channel. I'm very excited for that. That will be taking place on Tuesdays once the Deadlands campaign is finished. So we'll figure out what's going on with that. Other than that, I occasionally stream on my own channel. I don't have a schedule. I don't have a specific game I'm playing. I just stream whatever. It's fun.
There are days where that sentence would make me envious. But today is not one of those days because I got you amazing people here with me. So that's around the table. We'll talk about more at the end about what's upcoming here. But let's get back to this game. Because we ended last time with the four of you in your own homes. As sun set in the late fall, early winter. It's hard to tell, and it hardly matters because you're in northern Italy and it's kind of nice there all the time. But the lights go down, the constructs take over, basically. Start lighting lanterns and cleaning the streets and doing all the heavy lifting and packing that don't get done in the day because it's in the way. Each of you had sort of a moment and a rest before you went to bed. So we're going to start again the next morning, but we're going to actually start with the one that isn't here. Because Koas is off doing a thing, a mysterious thing that only Koas really knows about. We're actually not going to talk about him. We're going to talk about his fan, Thomas, who Koas clearly instructed, and if you don't believe me, just ask Thomas, clearly instructed Thomas that if he wanted to be the best possible militia person, he should go and find things that were hidden. And so he tore off into the city, and we watch from a short distance as he clambers in through a window and up a broken flight of stairs, almost falling 2 or 3 times. He's just cranked, just wound up on himself, way too excited, and he starts pulling apart things and digging through fireplaces and pulling apart a bed, and he stops. And he looks down, and his eyes open, and we can't see what he's looking at. And as he reaches under the mattress and pulls out a magazine, we cut away.
Primo-rama.
It's like a
Meanwhile-
fishing magazine or
Preteens
something.
best time.
Watch, it'll be like a fishing magazine or something.
Teen magazine.
Yeah.
Don't look at it under a black light. Thank you.
Jackson Pollock in here.
No, you'll see all the Elvis art. That's all I meant. That's all I ever meant. Back in the players that are here this week land. Just an excuse for some foolishness. The next morning, let's start with Sid. Because I got a feeling Sid would be up early. Because you got to go to work, right?
Yeah.
And you guys
So-
had planned to go back into the scrap after work. Was that the plan? This sort of
Yeah.
evening? Okay.
Yeah, that usually seems to be the
Yeah.
plan. We actually catch Sid at the end of his shift.
Mhm. Oh, perfect.
The rest of the boys are leaving out. The new shift's coming in, and his shift's constructs have to go for a recharge. You know,
Yep.
so each shift has their own set of constructs. So Sid, as the foreman, is the one, you know, corralling everybody to come back, and he gets to this last one, and you hear the construct before you see it. It's just this rhythmic ding ding, ding ding, and he turns the corner, and you see this one construct with a chrome mallet going up to every boiler and goes to the rivets, smashes it to make sure the rivets still good.
Yeah.
Goes to the next one, and so Sid comes and he's like, "All right, come on, Dad, let's go." He stops, forgets that his father has been dead for 2 years. MX11247, come on, let's go. So Maxwell stops, puts the hammer down, or puts the hammer in a little loop, and starts to follow Sid back to the corral.
And you drop them off there for recharging?
Yep.
Okay.
And it's just sort of a it kind of looks like you know, when you're visiting your elderly father at the home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's just sort of like, you know, you can't see my hands.
You got to do everything up here. I know
Yeah,
it's
I gotta
really
do everything
unnatural,
here.
but
he quietly ushers the
It's
constructs
like the
in.
"that's nice, Grandma" meme.
yeah.
Yeah.
And to be clear, it has no need for that help. It doesn't feel gratification
Mhm.
for any of this. Is
It
all about Sid.
Didn't
So, yeah.
even notice
Yeah,
the fact
it
that he
literally
called
doesn't.
him
Yeah.
Dad.
Yeah.
He was like, "All right, Max."
And now their voice
have a
command.
good rest.
You bastard. Okay.
Well, I think it's
No, there. I'm already writing an algorithm in my head that certain sounds register, and yeah, your voice saying those numbers, it's good.
Yeah.
I already got it figured out. I can do it without because I have to be able to do all this shit without computers, right? It all has
Well,
to
yeah,
be
it's-
manual clicky stuff. So
oh
yeah,
yeah,
very good.
So I guess he'd be saying that as he's like typing in the command to tell it to
Actually,
head back.
you could do that. Would be the easy way to make it easy on me. But I already made it. Thank you. But I already made it work because phone freaks in the '80s, when they
Mhm.
found out that if you used at that point when you used a street phone to make a long distance call, when you put in a coin, the phone just made a noise. It went beep boop boop boo, and the other end, if it heard that noise, it said you'd paid. And these people figured out that they could make a little box that made that noise, and you'd beep it into the phone and make free long-distance calls. It was the first ever hacking.
The guy who founded Apple was one of them.
Yep, it is.
Steve Woz.
But I can absolutely, positively see that slightly more advanced would work for this. Like I said, you have to sort of speak into a thing that vibrates the plate, and if the vibrating
Yeah.
pattern matches the pattern on the plate behind it, you get access and it follows you. So yeah,
Mm.
it works. Perfect. Now,
And we already established that you're like a shift supervisor
yeah,
or something.
exactly.
Yeah, he's
you would be the command voice in charge. So you drop them off there and turn around and go home. You're heading home?
Yeah, he'd head home and
Perfect.
have a quick bite to eat before.
Well, before you get there, on the way home, you live in, like you said, not the best part of town, right? It
I
never
live
was the
near
best part of town,
ossuary.
right by the ossuary.
quiet.
So it's
very
exactly,
quiet.
very quiet, exactly. So you, as you're getting there, you see you register it, but it's that almost invisible constructs doing the rounds. Except that in one place, there's 4 or 5 of them all sort of bouncing off of each other and bouncing off of the walls. And then you see there's a group of teens have pushed benches and chairs. They're basically construct tipping instead of cow tipping. They're preventing them from going about their ways, and they don't have the programming, right?
Mhm.
They're just like walk down the alley, walk down the alley, walk down the alley. So they're just banging into each other, and
They took
Yeah.
they will do this until they literally run out of steam.
ladder out of the pool in Sims.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
Sid's
There's
got like a
4 kids,
He's got like
teenagers, 13 to 16.
A bunch of little
got
shits.
Yeah. Too small,
like a towel.
too
that
young
you
to
sort of-
hit legally.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there in great big bold letters.
Mhm.
Okay.
And he takes the towel and he just sort of whips it over his shoulder to like partially cover his apron.
Yep.
And he walks over and is like, "You know, kids, if someone from the Citadel find you doing this, don't think you'd be spending the night in your own bed. What if the militia finds out?"
And they all freeze except for one, who kind of spins around for a second and looks at you, and then you see his eyes dart to the apron, and realizes that if you go like that, he's busted. Right? It's that easy for you to just say, "I'm official, you're done." Right? You don't have to be militia to do this. They're interfering with the functioning of the city, right?
Yeah.
And he's we were just fucking around, just messing around, and he starts trying to move the street furniture and the other things. The thing is, they're so messed up. They're all pointed in the wrong direction. Like somebody's going to have to take them away. They're not going to be able to get out of this themselves. The constructs.
The railroad track on the train toy was moved.
Yeah, yeah. They've been turned 90 degrees, so they're trying to go, and there's a wall where there should be an alley, and that's as far as they're programmed to deal with.
So yeah,
so the kids start to back away, except for the one who's pulling. And once the others realize what he's doing, they start pulling it all away too.
He looks to the kid. He's like, "We're going to need an architect to get this sorted out. So, I guess it's time for you to go find an architect."
One of the other kids blurts out, "Hey, your dad's an architect." "Shut up!" The kid that was smart mouth, the kid that thought about smart mouthing you, his dad's an architect.
Yeah. "Is he now?"
And there's just sweat, that oily fear sweat, the great big droplets that are just coming down both sides. It's like, because he's in official trouble, he's in parent trouble. Yeah,
Sid's kind of known for being a little weird to begin with.
Yeah, I can, from being on the other end of this, from being that kid in various times in my life, he feels like there's a target painted on his face right now, and you got a gun, and like, you have all the power.
So he comes up, he sets the forge hammer down, and puts his hand on the
Forgot
kid's
you were
shoulder.
carrying a giant hammer.
Yeah, I've got a big fucking hammer.
Yeah, which is invisible until he does this.
He puts the forge hammer down, puts his hand on the kid's shoulders, like, "Look, I know there isn't fuck all to do around here, but these constructs are important. You gotta make sure they keep going. And if your dad were to find out you've been messing with them, you'd be in so much trouble, I wouldn't even be able to help." And he's like, "And I'm an engineer."
Yeah, at the word "if," like, if your dad found out, there's this little blink of hope. I might live to see the dawn. Yeah. What do you want me to do?
"Well, you're gonna have to find a technician to try and sort these lads out. You and your friends are going to clean up that alley," pointing to the alley that those constructs were supposed to be going down.
Yep.
"And you're going to do their job for them, and you're going to understand exactly how important they are to the running of the city. You understand me?"
And out of the darkness behind you, you hear, "You heard the man. Do you understand him?" And a member of the militias kind of steps out of the darkness and crosses his arms just out of official range.
Night cop.
Yeah. And he's just standing there, and he raises his eyebrows and looks at the kid, and the kid goes to talk to him, and looks at you. He's just there backing you up.
Yeah. Well,
Like the sharks and the jets snapping fingers.
Yeah.
yeah, he walks over to one of the constructs that has like a push room and a thing, grabs it, walks over to the kid.
Yeah.
"Get your friends, start cleaning."
And there's this weird moment as he starts pulling the tools out of the other construct's hands while trying not to look at them, like he just can't bring himself to look at the evidence of what he's done, right?
Mhm.
And he hands the brooms out to all of his friends, and just before they turn and start, like, they have no idea how to do this. They've never swept a thing in their lives, not because they're spoiled little shits, but because this is the world, right?
Mhm.
You don't have to. So they're literally about to try and figure out how to use a broom, and the constructs are kind of still doing the sweeping motion, but they don't have the broom, and it's, I mean, in my head, it's really kind of a pathetic image. They're all still just, I'm working, just locked
Yeah.
in this, stuck in puzzle mode, right? They're stuck. And these kids all look at that for a couple minutes, and then they start sweeping, and you see that by the time they're 10 feet down this alley, they're sweating a completely different kind of sweat.
Mhm.
It's like unused muscles kind of sweat of actual physical labor. 10 feet of snow uphill, fighting wolves the entire way just to get a single drop of hope. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
this is a fantasy world. You don't have to do that for hope here.
Mhm. Yeah.
Hope floats, apparently. Especially if you put a life preserver on her before you throw her off the ship. Sid, yes.
Yeah, Sid, he sort of watches them, and kind of off color. It's like he doesn't really say anything specific. It's just kind of a kids these days.
Yeah.
You know, we'll make workers out of them yet.
So the militia behind you says, I've contacted the engineers. One of them will be here in a couple minutes. You ever
They're
thought of
just
being a cop?
They're just having a spot of fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure the fun spots go all the way to the end of the alley. I'm sure you've got better things to do, and to be fair, I don't.
Well, Sid, he's got a newsy cap on, so he just taps the cap's like, Constable. And
He
that's all.
does the boom back into the shadows where just the elbows are showing.
This cop
Yeah.
follows
Kids
the head of the kids, just
Yeah.
kind of kicking stuff into the alley every now and then.
You missed a spot.
Yeah, and they're learning a lesson because they're like I said, 13 to 16, and they've literally never had to sweep a floor in their lives. And the constructs, a couple minutes later, as you're walking away, I mean, this happens, not just this, but constructs get hung up all the time, right? All it takes is somebody putting a bench in the wrong spot. All it takes is somebody leaving their garbage in the wrong spot, and they can't follow their plan, right? They're that hardwired. So one of them shows up quite quickly, and for this, they actually open them up, and it's like a hard reset button. And you see the engineer in question then puts on this sort of almost like a bib with a front and a back, and there's almost like a target on it, and you can see all of the constructs are following that image, and just tracking them and following them back to the recharge station.
I know exactly what technology they're using to do that.
I almost said QR code, but no, that doesn't work because it's not computerized, right? This
No.
has to be a
Homing
physical.
pigeons.
Yeah.
The missile guiding pigeons.
Yes, pretty much, yeah. Anything else you want to do on the way home after that encounter?
Actually, Sid kind of lingers to make sure the constructs are okay. He watches the architect do their thing, and then once the architect starts walking away, Sid makes his way off too. And when he gets home, he goes through his usual ritual. Says hello to mom and dad. Has some tea, as usual.
Yeah. So because it is it's getting towards winter. It's not dark, but you've probably got, let's make it interesting, 4 hours before it's dark. So if you're gonna go, you're gonna have to go fairly soon.
Yeah.
So with that, we'll skip away. You have your tea and your dinner, and your chat with mom and dad. Let's do Delilah next. What is we put Delilah to bed at the end of the last one.
Read her a bedtime story.
Yeah, tucked her in.
Tucked her
Yeah.
in.
They're there. They're there. The monsters under the bed are very, very real. Sleep well. So the next morning, walk us through Delilah's day, because you got a whole day before you're going to go out there, right?
Yeah. So Delilah wakes up, and I think even without having taken like major injuries, she's still kind of battered and bruised.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
We took a tumble down a hill at garbage.
Yeah. Just nothing else, just sore. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, really sore.
Mhm.
Her shower the night before didn't really help much.
No.
All it gave her was clean hair.
Yeah.
Which she, puts up in her regular French bun, but it's maybe not, or French twist, but it's maybe not as neat as normal because she can't move her arms as well. She's got maybe some hairs straggling on the temples and stuff.
When you go to the
She
gym for the
does.
first time and you're
Yeah.
like,
The next morning, it's like I used to be able to get my hands all the way to the top of my head. That's really wow. Oh well.
I didn't know that muscle was supposed to hurt like that.
Yeah. She does her best to try to sort of cover up with makeup as much as she can,
Mhm.
but it's hard to cover the scrapes.
Yep.
The bruises are a little easier, but
Yep.
she got pretty cut up.
Yep.
And she goes, she gets dressed, but when she goes downstairs, she is reminded when she sees her lab coat and her apron are in shreds,
Yep.
and her med kit is beat to hell.
Yep.
So she kind of sighs, takes a breath, and tries to think how, because she knows she has to go into work, if nothing else, to get fresh supplies and a new uniform.
Yep.
So she kind of ponders what she's going to say as she leaves her house. Not before making a very large pot of coffee. And heads into work.
So you head in. Did we determine? Do you work at the Citadel? You do, right? You work at the Citadel
Yes.
itself in
Yes.
armatures, right? Basically,
Yeah.
like building the inner bits to go under. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So you get there, and well, here's a couple questions first, though. Do you put on the damaged gear and go to work that way? Apron in particular, lab coat is kind of the question there is, are you using it to cover your tattered apron? But the big thing is, are you wearing the tattered apron?
That's a really good question. She, like, it's a blow to her pride to not wear the apron into work.
Mm-hmm.
I think she thinks she might be able to pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
tuck in the bottom bit to your
If you
pants
cover, if
and
you
just-
cover
Yeah.
appropriate
Yeah.
bits, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she
Denise.
normally does not, like, normally if she wears her lab coat over her apron, she doesn't button the coat so that the apron is fully visible.
Yeah.
Today she goes in and her lab coat is buttoned.
So, we're not going to make you make a play, but I came up with this last week and I liked it. In your current hand, because we're going to use this as you're not going to make a play, but I'm going to use the skill appearance. And again, this isn't about being pretty. This is about using your appearance to your advantage, right? Whether that's intimidation or, in this case, coolness, right? I'm just gonna style this shit out, right?
bravado,
Mhm.
confidence.
So I'm not
Yeah.
going to make you make a play, but I'm going to ask, how many diamonds do you have in your hand right now, and do they add up to 8? In other words, how many successes could you generate right now? I'm not going to make you generate them. Just how many could you?
I have 1 diamond.
Okay,
and it is not an 8.
So it is one. That is still a success. There was, yeah. And yeah,
I also
yeah.
have the appearance skill, but I only have 1 diamond. So
Oh, okay. I'll give you what we're going to do with that then is because you have the appearance and but you only had the one card. We're going to auto give you the other card to offset the consequence. I was going to say you were late for work because it took so long to make it look right, but your skill and that at the what you looked at it and went, fuck, I've got a sorry that'll work for this, right? Or something, right? And you had that moment and you make it to work on time, dressed maybe not as you normally would be, but the combined with the fact that no one looks at the apron if it's partially covered, you get there undisturbed. You do, however, the first challenge happens when you get to your room, like your office block with all the others when you got to go in the door before you go to work. And you get not the security guard, but the sort of shift supervisor. They're there to sort of sign you in and sign you out. And yeah, you get the scan from top to bottom. There's not a judgment, but there's definitely a question in the eyes.
I think she looks at him, gives them a very like, I don't want to talk about it look, and just shakes her head for a second.
Yeah.
Like don't go there.
Yep.
And then she signs herself in and goes to her station.
You go inside, the door closes behind you, and the shift supervisor looks over at the security guard and says, "That's what they get for experimenting at home, you know."
Do I hear that?
No, I very clearly said the door closed behind you.
Oh, okay.
I'm just doing lots of cutaways today because they're fun. Yes. There was no shame. Well, there was a bit of shame, but I don't know if it was about a kink. It was just, yeah. If you're gonna science, yeah.
Not kink shaming, just kink asking why.
Yes. Yes. Anyway, yes. So, with that, you go inside, and once you're inside, it's easy. I mean, you just go get another one. It's requisition a new one, reason old one ripped, right? I mean, it's a government form. This is easy. Boom, done. You get your new gear and a new jacket as well.
Nice.
So you head into work the day.
Oh, and I need to refill my med kit.
Yes, that's easy enough. You do that right while you're there. That's easy. That's, one of your coworkers looks at you and says, rough weekend, or was it someone else you saved? As you're restocking bandages and quinine and, yeah. Then they look at you and, like you said, you tried to cover it up, but yeah.
Yeah, I think she looks at them and she says, that was an incident. Nobody died. That's what's important.
They look at you and grin and go, I get it, yeah. First rule of Fight Club.
Sure.
Except they don't have movies. So
Ancient media.
It's a meme. They last
It's a
forever.
book.
It's true.
It's a book too. They can find a book.
Block.
She just rolls her eyes and she's like, what? In her head, she's like, whatever.
Old timer speaking weird things.
They do poster memes now.
All of the grief that she gets, she's thankful.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you, there was probably actual fight clubs, that's fair enough too.
Started one in my high school when I was after the movie came out.
That wasn't Fight Club, that was 5 people that wanted to beat you up.
Let's be honest, we want to beat the shit out of each other.
I couldn't resist. Delilah, back to you. You were not in Fight Club last night, but you have after what happened yesterday, you have all of the gear and things you could imagine, all the skilled people you could imagine in the world to talk to. And your day's kind of open. Nobody tells you what to do. You're up to, you're caught up on your quota for the month already, so you've done your bits. With all of that, what do you do? What do you try and find out?
I think Delilah did her best to remember what she saw in the automaton,
Yep.
without really having the chance to super study it the night before.
Yep.
But she goes into.
Don't you have yours?
I do. She left it at home.
Yeah.
Um,
Probably a good decision. At least don't show it to anybody here. But
yeah.
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 But so
No,
maybe
she-
to
she
the fine
wouldn't-
armatures
She wouldn't
department.
risk that
No.
becoming exposed.
So like I said,
Um,
there was I mentioned this last week. There's specialists here that do like fingers and toes, the finest stuff that you guys do.
Mhm.
That department is available if you wanted to go and look at what they're doing or talk to them.
Yeah, I think she'll do that.
Okay. You can, without even having to talk to them, like you can go in and there's the armatures laying on the desk, and you've got the apron. You're allowed to. You guys can wander. Right? You're allowed. And you can see these people. They've been here longer than you. They're pretty senior. Some of their aprons look like yours did this morning, and it's just from work. Like they're just covered in grease and oil and tiny scratches. And a lot of them are wearing the magnifying glasses so they can see the really fine detail work they're doing in front of them. But it's a split second to see that the very, very finest little bendy thing in the finest little finger bone end is bigger, bulkier, and less well done than the waist of your automaton. Like the biggest joint on your automaton is smaller and more delicate and more artistic than the finest work that this guy can do.
I think after watching, she's gonna watch him for a while.
Yeah.
And just sort of pick up some of his techniques.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and I mean, if anyone asks, like, she's kind of, her nature is that she's been fast tracked,
Yep.
basically,
Yeah.
up the ladder.
Yeah.
So she can just tell them she's, wanting to specialize, and they'll be like, oh, yeah, you're.
Oh, yeah,
The
nothing to it.
prodigy,
Yeah,
whatever.
All you need is a note, is a friggin' clipboard and a pen. And
not even.
everyone
Like,
thinks
you
you're
walk
taking
into
notes.
you walk into the room and take a look at the work and walk over to see the stuff that they're doing, and it's only a couple of minutes before you hear them say, "You want to give it a go?
Oh, sure, yeah.
It's the same thing everybody else does. It's just a matter of scale. The tools are a lot smaller, and you got to be a little bit steady."
Yeah. I'll give it a go.
And they step out of their little booth. Yeah, you've had your multiple extra coffees this morning. And you step in and
This is the hand I shoot with.
yeah, you can tell as soon as, and it's like tiny. It is literally like tiny tools. You recognize these tools. That's as good as they've gotten. That's one of the limitations. It's one of the reasons they can only go this small is because they can only make the tools this small. Right, but it's yeah, that's why you prefer full auto. But yeah, that's it's quite literally exactly the same thing. You realize the limitation here is partly technique. There's no
It's a
way.
skill issue.
Yeah, there's no way that with these tools you could make what Verite is doing. He's doing it some other way.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna give, just to see if I can, like,
This is in Italy. This isn't the American health system.
I'm
she's
glad you
going
brought that up,
to-
actually, because this is actually the most advanced medical location known in the world right now. because of the stuff
Yeah.
that they learned to keep to do the constructs. They've also become exceptionally good at keeping people alive. So,
Yeah.
but you just saw
Just
that
so
put
that
to
she
shame.
can kind of
Yeah.
understand the hand movements and everything, she's
Mhm.
going to give that a try.
Yeah. So you get in there and actually you're gonna try and put a joint together.
Yeah.
Okay. That would absolutely positively be dexterity, which is clubs. So let's do the same thing. How many clubs you got in your hand, and do they add up to 8?
Just one club and it's a 2, but I am skilled in dexterity.
Okay, so we'll give you the 1 and then give you the credit for that. So 2. Um, the yeah. So again, the success and 1. We're gonna do most of these.
Different
We're gonna
joint.
do most of these as 1 success to do the thing and 1 success to offset the 1 consequence, which in this case is you didn't break his finger when you were in there. You did manage to put the little tiny pin that he was trying to put in. You got it in there. He made it. He's telling the truth. He made it look pretty easy. You kind of had to stick out your tongue. You know, one of the moments. Close one eye, stick out your
Oh,
tongue,
yeah.
and hum a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, had to use all the tricks, but you got it. And you can tell when you back away and kind of take your hands off the tools. You tell me whether you're sweating or not.
I think she's sweating a little bit just
Mhm.
because it's not like, oh, there's a lot riding on this, but
Yeah.
like, this is a moment where she's thinking a lot harder than she's had to.
Yeah, and having those thoughts in this building might be a little, maybe bordering on blasphemy almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a very different way. Yeah. But maybe to help offset that, as you sit back on the stool and look over at this guy who does this for a living, he is flat out shocked, like mouth hanging open, jaw hanging open, shocked. I've had apprentices that took 2 years to be able to do that. I figured you were going to screw that up. Huh. That's half a day's work I didn't waste. And you realize that tiny little joint took him half a day.
Get good, Scrubs.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
Delilah just, she takes a moment to like kind of process that,
mm-hmm.
and then she just goes, "That's why I am where I am." And then she walks out because she's like
Yeah.
about to explode.
Yeah, I'm gonna save face and get out. Yeah, absolutely.
Dip.
And because apparently the theme tonight is cutaways. As you leave this room, I'm gonna do another one. He watches you leave, and looks back in the thing, and reaches over and grabs the little tools and lets him go and sits back and looks for his coffee. He was going in to check, and it's perfect. He didn't have to touch anything. And he kind of looks at the door again with his coffee a little wistfully, like, damn, that's way better than my apprentice.
Meanwhile, he's like gluing an elbow together the wrong way,
Yeah. But
Putting a knee on
The,
like a
yeah.
forearm.
eating
So the
crayons.
last thing I think, so Delilah, she, with the rest of her day, because I guess today she doesn't have to do any of the constructing. Just,
Yep.
she knows other people will do it.
Oh, yeah.
She has kind of a seniority in her sort of strata,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very much so. Yeah.
so she's allowed to be like, "Hey, I actually have a different project I want to work on today."
Yep.
Yada yada.
Yeah. Easy.
So,
Yeah.
what she wants to do is find an empty construction room
Mm-hmm.
and get out a set of the tiny tools
Yep.
and start to kind of modify them because in using that set of tools, she was like, this would be nicer if it kind of hooked this way,
Yep.
or like
You-
this tube should be smaller.
You have the click moment where in my head you have the moment where why do these look like little tools? Why don't I make what I need?
Yeah,
Right. 'Cause-
exactly.
Yeah.
So she
And
wants to start experimenting
right in
with
your
new
jeweler
tool
shop,
designs.
exactly. Not thinking on how small can I make this, but what can I make that works at this scale instead of the
Yeah.
other way around, right?
And she's still thinking like
Mm-hmm.
this could just make us able to build more intricate constructs.
Yes.
But she's starting to like try to pick apart the way these are built
Sure.
and how she could
I love this.
do what Verite does.
So by the time it starts to get dark in here, that's kind of how you tell the end of the workday, because I'm going to have to light a candle if I keep going.
Mhm.
By the time you get to there, you found out a couple of things. I'm not going to make you make a play for any of this. It is tougher than it looks. You got that one in there. It wasn't beginner's luck, but to do the whole finger joint is a whole lot more complicated than putting one little tiny hook in place, right? You bend and screw up a lot of tiny little pieces in an afternoon. But by the end of it, you've got at least the tools. You're down to the point where you can almost do what they can do, because not because you got the skill level, they've been doing it for 10 years, but because your tools are better. You still haven't gotten any smaller, but you're able to make up for the lack of experience with better tools.
Okay. Can I put those tools in my med bag?
You absolutely can, and because it was such a good idea, also you can take a create experience quarter. 'Cause
Sweet.
you got to do the 4 things to get an experience point.
Mhm.
So that is a very good idea of creating an item that was useful. And make a
Awesome.
note of those on your sheet, because I will not remember.
We didn't do XP at the end of the last session. I just realized.
No, we didn't. We did it at the end of the first one, but
We forgot.
somebody should watch those back and see what you guys earned. Somebody.
I don't know what the develop skill or what that one
Develop is character development.
Okay.
So do something
it's-
that is a dramatic step forward. Well, not a dramatic. I mean, it's a quarter of an experience point, but a step forward in your characters.
Okay.
So I think we decided Delilah's already basically getting one of those every time she steps further away from her degree and more towards what Verite is doing. I would argue the
Does that
same
mean I
thing
get
with
one?
Artemis, and Sid's getting them a completely different way. Sid's getting them from just like starting to think like a grandfather almost. Like the
Does that mean I
we
get
could
a
care for
develop?
everybody. In fact, yes, let's do that because we didn't do it in the last session. Everybody gets a develop. Everybody that's here. And what else could we do? There was risk, but not extreme risk. So we're going to keep that one away
Did
from
anybody inflict anything?
you. If you took a wound or inflicted a wound in the last one, you get one of those. That's the easiest one to get.
Mm.
You just have to get beat up.
Like, I think
If you took
We
a
all-
trauma, you get
we all
inflict. Gave or took. Yeah.
okay, because we don't really inflict trauma. We don't. I don't
What
for the
counts
most
as
part, we're-
trauma is the face down cards.
oh, okay.
They're the consequences.
Yeah. Okay. So
Because there's damage and trauma is the 2 stats that encounters have.
Hmm.
Sid inflicted pants sweating terror in some teenagers. Actually, that's a moment for tonight. Yes, thank you. That is absolutely a develop moment for tonight for Sid. I don't think it's the actual stopping the kids from doing it. That's something I think Sid would always have done. But then sticking around and making sure it got cleaned up, and not just assuming it was going to get cleaned up. So he's questioning things in his own way. I would say that that's developed too. And let's give Artemis a chance to fill in some squares.
Hollywood squares.
Are you good with that, Delilah? After that, you walk home, have some dinner, and prepare to go and meet at the square of the Legs
Yep.
of David? Wonderful.
Yep.
Artemis,
Yes.
you know that at dawn, and when you go to bed, you know that at dawn, Carol is going to be here for their lesson. You also know that Carol is Carol's parents do not want Carol to be a technosopher.
Yeah.
So, let's start when you wake up. Apparently before dawn, because you told them to be here at dawn, I think.
Yes, she wakes up early-ish, because it's a teenager,
Yep.
so they might be a little late because
Yeah.
teenagers sleeping, in theory. And so she has enough time to basically like, try and wash off some of the scrap stank,
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
She's she's like, "This is fine." Like,
Ooh,
changes
Oh,
into their
Zoom is
pair of like,
twitching again, so we're having a little trouble getting you.
oh, I'm sorry. It might also partially be my internet.
It's all good. Your
Good now.
you're back. So there we go.
I'm back.
Yep. you're
Okay.
back.
But she's, gonna change into other paint stained clothing.
Yeah.
Uh, because that's all she's got, and wash off some of the scrap stank, and kind of grab some like caffeine.
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. Very shortly after dawn, like only sort of a quarter of a sun above the horizon, there is a I got to use the word. It came to my mind. It's not the right word, but I love it. A tepid knock at your door. It's just sort of
And she'll open it and kind of like have like her cup of whatever and
yeah.
coffee. Hey,
Hi, can I come in? And they're looking down the street.
yeah. And she'll kind of step aside so that like
Yeah.
they can get in.
My parents live right down there. And then she just steps in past you.
Does Artemis know who lives down that way or not?
How many? I love this new mechanic that I figured out. Reasoning. Let's do reasoning. So clubs. How many
Clubs.
successes in clubs can you generate?
None.
None. Okay. All you know is that down at that end of the street. I mean, you said you lived in a very nice place, right? I mean, why wouldn't you? Right?
I mean, she lives kind of she lives in like the artsy square
Yeah.
near the Lakes of David,
Yeah.
but like,
So yeah,
Yeah.
at the end of that sector is used to be where all the sort of art patron people lived. So there was the artist lived where you are now, and then the patrons sort of lived over there. If they're and that's sort of seems to be the area that Carol was looking at. If they're in there, that neighborhood's sort of famous for being snooty and snotty, but also politically powerful. They're not. They're not members of the Citadel, but they're a group of powerful families. Not quite. They're not doing anything illegal, but they are a counterpoint in power to the people in the Citadel.
Probably merchants, eh? I mean, it's
Yeah.
Florence. Why wouldn't they be merchant princes?
Yes, yes.
Okay, and so she'll close her door and kind of look at Carol. So you said you wanted to make things.
Yeah, your stuff is amazing. I saw it through the window, like you're totally shameless. Just I saw it through your window. What is that one? And they point at one of your art pieces. I'll let you describe. Let you decide what they point at. You tell me the story. They point at one of your things and say, "What's that?"
Well, here, I'll show you. And she'll kind of go over to this. It's hard to tell exactly what it is right off the bat. There is basically a unlit candle with what looks like a hollow aluminum sphere kind of around it that
Yeah.
has holes punched into it, with another contraption kind of sitting in front of it that is kind of angled like this.
Yeah.
And she'll look to Carol and say, "So you want to be a technosopher, right?"
Yes.
And she'll grab something off the table where this art piece is sitting, and it's basically, it looks like, whatever the latest iPhone was
Yeah.
before the world ended.
Yeah.
But obviously it doesn't turn on, and the screen is kind of cracked, and she kind of tosses it over to Carol. First lesson is finding interesting things and finding a use for them. That's part of my art piece. Do you see anything important about it? And the back has been taken off of the phone, so it's just the screen basically.
Oh, okay. So they can see the insides of the phone?
Yeah, because
Okay.
like it kind of pops off. She
Yeah.
uses the screen part.
Yeah. They turn it over and see all the stuff on the back. That's tech.
Mhm.
Does it work? Do I shake it?
No, we still trying to figure out how to make it work all together, and she'll kind of take it from her and like remove the screen and kind of the edge
Yeah.
of the phone and kind of place it on that slanted bit.
Mm-hmm.
And because she's kind of removed all the like coloring from that side, so it's just clear.
Yeah.
And she will pull the hollow metal part off of the candle, light the candle, put the metal back on it, and then twist up the end of a music box
Okay.
and put it alongside it so that it spins.
Yeah.
And that gets projected through the phone
The
screen.
cone. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Through the
it's
phone
like
screen. Yeah.
simulating like constellations spinning.
Oh, glorious. They sort of watch all of this, and then almost like you're not there, you just hear "fuck," and they realize what they've said in the presence of an adult, and you just do that teen shrink thing, like I want to disappear.
It's okay.
How does that work?
Well, the mechanisms of an old music box create the movement, the light from the candle, and then the screen from. Would they know they were phones or?
Um, yeah, let's go with phone as I was trying to figure out a generic thing that they would call all screens, and phone is the
Yeah.
shortest one, like phone, TV, monitor. No, phone's the
Yeah,
short one.
yeah.
So yeah, Yeah.
I'm assuming that knowledge was passed down. Like
yeah.
we had
Mhm.
information.
Anything with a glass screen, they're going to call a phone, whether it's this big or this big. That's my
Mhm.
that's
A
my
really
take on
big
that.
phone.
Yes,
Well, in this
my whole life.
glass screen
Hmm.
from one of the phones, there's a million of them out in the scrap. Can't throw a rock without finding one. They have some, reflective and magnification properties that you can use so that it can help reflect light around the room.
How could I fold that up? Because I got to be able to hide it. And can you help me make one that's foldy so I can hide it?
One of the screens?
The whole thing.
Well, I guess you could make it into parts. But I'm sure there is a way to make it portable.
And in that sort of that essentially self-confident thing that only teenagers have, they grab a quill and a piece of parchment and they're just looking at the biggest complicated most complicated piece and drawing. Essentially, you look down and you can see the idea is good, and they're actually doing really well. They're essentially figuring out how to turn your product into a flat pack. They're like IKEAing your box, right? The light creation thing. So
Mhm.
IKEA.
and you can see that they're drawing a little thing like there's a candle. I can put that here in my room. Like there's no problem with a candle. I can pretend this is this, and you could see they don't have any technology skills, but they're bright. They're also, because they're hiding everything from their parents and they're still a teenager, they are cunningly bright. Right? They think in tricks. They think in ways around corners, and you can see just from what they're drawing that they're going to be very, very good at this.
When you said the whole IKEA thing, I immediately saw like a blown out version of what Artemis made
Yep.
with like,
Yes.
little fucking
And that,
stupid
I did so much that I then
conversational
commented
bits.
on the panel in the corner that has the not just the instructions but the list of components, like 16 of these and 8 of those. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the little candle and the little ball and all that stuff. Yeah, that was that list. So, yeah,
And Artemis will help with like, oh, well, you can, disguise one of these pieces. Like, she's,
yeah. Did you have
I
to
don't know,
hide
Inspiring.
stuff from your parents too?
not necessarily, but I won't lie and say they weren't disappointed in how I chose to grow up.
And I mean, this is the teenager ultimate focus, right? They, as fixated as they were on what they were doing, they just dropped the pen and the paper and turned to you and just, how did you make them stop?
Well,
I covered them with a sheet of paper and they couldn't see me.
Well, that's the hard part. They don't necessarily stop. You just get older, and what they say or what they tell you you can and can't do matter less. It may still hurt, but sometimes it just doesn't feel right. My parents they wanted me to be an architect.
Why? They're all like cutting stuff and
Let's just say they had grand designs for me and expected me to follow the dreams of someone else. And I decided that I didn't want that. I wanted to create art. And the best way to do that was to get access to the scrap.
You said that twice now. You've been there? You've been in the scrap? And they look at the
Yes.
wall. Like you can't see the scrap from the room you're in, but they look at the wall like they can. Yes, it's over there.
And their
Yes.
heads immediately
It's
start
like looking
filling with
up
images.
when people talked about heaven, right? Yeah.
It's dangerous. There's risks going there, but it's also a good resource. I think, and a lot of technosophers think, that old tech is useful, not just as art, but I use it as art.
And that in my head this whole time, this projection's been on the ceiling, flickering slightly because of the candle flame, giving it a sort of a sense of movement. And there's just this quiet moment where there's always dust in the air, and you can see the motes floating in the dust as they go back to scritching away with their pen and trying to figure out how to flat pack your stuff. And occasionally being distracted by other things that are in your room and other things that you're trying to do. And then finally, towards the end of the afternoon, they've pretty much, I mean, you look over it, there's pages and pages and pages of stuff that's not going to be useful, but they are damned close to figuring out how to hide that in a teenage person's bedroom in such a way as to make it all either hideable or look like something else.
Mm-hmm.
And then as those shadows start to lengthen, and again, that moment when you got to reach for the candles is kind of universal. They kind of pop up as, oh shit, I got to go home. And they run to the front door and they stop. And, can I go out the back?
Sure.
And they run down the halls. Thanks. When can I come back? They've left everything here. They didn't even take the paper with them.
Yeah, and she'll kind of like
Yeah.
put it in a nice pile.
Yeah.
In 2 days. How about that?
2 days, okay. Thank you. And you hear a thunk, thunk as the window in the back of the room, the back of your house opens. They slide out, and it slides closed behind them.
Not even
I'm
the
dealing in
door.
illicit. I'm dealing in illicit ideas.
Yes. And we'll do a cutaway scene here too. We cut to them outside, and they're backing away from the house like it's a temple. Like they feel it would be rude to turn their back on it, right? And finally, they run into your fence at the back of your yard. Oh, and they go through the gate and close the gate, and only then you see them lean on the gate and put their forehead on the gate, and just start breathing, and you see them starting to shake. Okay. Can't let Mom and Dad know. Coolest day of my life. And they turn, and they're just stilt walking down the back alley, trying to calm down. And yeah, we won't watch them get home because it's going to be awful. Their parents are going to absolutely know they were up to something.
You were too quiet and too good
Yeah,
today.
Yes. So
The
with
butler
that,
construct didn't even notice you come in.
yeah, with what was supposed to be a quick intro on each. I love it because now we know these characters much better. This is so much better. But with that, the three of you in the late afternoon, just doing drugs, yes. In the late afternoon, the three of you meet again at the feet of David, I believe, or the legs of David.
Get it right,
believe.
Kevin.
Yeah, I know. I made it. I think I'm just going to change it on the
Well,
map.
the legs have feet.
Yeah, they do. They are the legs and feet of David.
And they're the closest to us.
Yes. And as you get there, you see that the reason I said feet this time, I'll cover it up in reverse. The reason I said feet this time is because somebody has taken chalk and colored the toenails. And I mean, the big toenails like this big. This was a big statue, right? So these
Yeah.
10 splashes of color in chalk. The toenails have been painted.
Artemis is gonna look at it and go, huh. Kind of, I like it.
Sid chuckles for sure.
Yes. Delilah, I see a smile. Yeah, as the sort of not
I was just
conservative,
looking at,
but the
like-
sort of the
Like you shouldn't desecrate
Yeah.
like a national monument, but
Mhm.
also it's pretty.
I mean, the monument's already been kind of desecrated. It doesn't have a body.
That's
So
why you
you are
shouldn't
too
further
honest,
desecrate
yes.
it.
Yes. Actually, for that last scene, I am going to give ominously, I am going to give Artemis a quarter of an experience point for risk. Because you just helped this young person put themselves in a tremendously risky situation.
Artemis is going to start clearing out one of the bedrooms in the house. She has to house a
I'm
teen.
adopting you. Yeah. So
Safe house.
with that, you don't need to go and see Verite. You guys have got the gear, right? You've got the who's got the umbrellas? The water
I've got
umbrellas.
one of them.
I've got one.
And I also have the fire suppressant
The foam sprayer. All right. And
Yeah.
the gas
Lois
masks. You
gave it to
guys all
me
took gas masks,
last
right?
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
I
all
already
took
had
it.
one.
Right.
How many umbrellas were there?
2.
Okay.
But they were
I
larger.
only
They're
have a
big
gas
enough.
mask.
Well, they're big enough. We specifically said you could put one other person under them.
Yeah,
So
I
you'll have
think
to go with one of these two.
I think
Oh, okay.
Coas has the other one.
Well,
No,
gave it
I
to-
have
he
one.
gave it to
I have
Artemis,
one, and he
uh,
gave me the fire suppressant.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've got the other water umbrella.
Yes.
Mhm.
So, I just want to know that because we're going to need to know that shortly. So, do you head to the scrap?
Yeah. I mean, Sid's naturally going to wait for everybody else to get going, but
So you guys make
Yeah.
your way. Nothing interesting happens on the way there. You get a couple looks because you're walking through the city with all this gear and heading clearly for the scrap, even though, nobody goes there but technosophers, and some of you are clearly not technosophers.
no, it's okay. I've got a thing over my
Yep. Oh yes. Yeah. People aren't
There's a
judging who
towel
you
on the
are, but
apron, I don't know
they are kind of looking at you like normal people don't go in there, right?
Yeah, because Artemis just said that you should maybe wear like your aprons like not covered when you're in the scrap, just
Yeah.
to
For
be
protection.
safe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But to get there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
to get us there, the three of you make your way into the scrap the way you did before, along the wall stub, down the slides that you made before. We're not going to make you roll this
Oh no,
time.
we can go through the one
Oh
of
no,
the
you can go
ways.
through the door
The
to the
railway.
tunnel, right? Yes. So you come up by the railway yard, which is nice and close to that area, the methane field that you guys had found.
Mm.
As you get closer to that, Artemis, you can see. Well, you can all see that the landscape has changed, even in the 24 hours since you were been here. There's been tech lanches. There's big pieces of stuff that aren't where they used to be. Everything moves here. Everything changes overnight, all the time. There's no such thing as a map of the scrap. The scrap map.
No, you kind of have to get like landmarks that you're willing to move.
Well, but yeah, in my head, because
Except for this
I put
caldera,
myself.
I guess.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. What I had done in my head was how would I do it, and it would be to climb to the top of a pile, and look to where the city is, and sort of triangulate on a couple points on the city wall,
Mhm.
or like you said, if you can see a smoking caldera or something specific. But it's all about triangulating, right? Where you're going to be.
Yeah, like maybe you can see like a flag off
Yeah.
the citadel.
Exactly, yeah. And you goes if that was there, and then 50 degrees this way, there's this, and you guys have got compasses that work. That's not electronic. Um,
Yeah, it's just a magnet and some water.
Yes. So you approach this area again, and just to remind you, as you approach this time, you're able to sort of notice a few more things. There's foggy little bubbles forming up around your feet, because as you're in the bottom of one of these valleys, and it's wet down here. The river's right there. The groundwater is right here, so you can see these little methane bubbles bubbling up around your feet. The hillside that you saw before continues to burn all the way up to the top in these little puffs of blue flame. A bit of it, as you watch, a bit of it sort of droops and forms almost like a sinkhole or a caldera, where some of it is melted and collapsed. And you watch as it kind of, and there's a whoomph of blue flame as that happens too. The entire landscape, when you look at it close, is flickering. It's either on fire or it's got this ground mist of methane on it. It's all flickering. You can feel the heat for sure. And you realize that this is a mountain of half-melted burning plastic, wiring, and heated metal. And when you put your feet on it closer as you get, you can feel that sort of melted plastic sensation.
Oh, that's gonna feel weird for Sid. He's either walked on cobblestone or steel
Yeah.
pretty much his
It's
entire life.
squishy.
And the way
It's like hot asphalt.
the way the water umbrellas work, they're like the backpack with the pump. I don't know if you've ever seen them for firefighting purposes. You got to pump them up, or for spraying weed eater and stuff like that. You pump up the backpack, and in this case, it comes out of the edges of the umbrella and forms like this tunnel of water around you. As soon as you fire that up, you see that as soon as it touches this melted plastic, it cools it off, and it forms almost like a pathway, almost like causing lava to set, so that everything else around you is kind of moving and melting. But as long as you walk along this path, you're relatively stable.
That's a neat trick.
The payoff is it means you're constantly surrounded in steam, and you can hardly see. The vast majority of the following adventure is going to be telling me which way you're going, as up, down, left, or right, because that's all you can tell from through the steam. You can't see any landmarks. You can tell whether you're going uphill, downhill, or side to side.
Before we get going, I'm gonna see if I can find like a length of rebar or something I can use as like a blind stick.
A walking stick? Yeah, absolutely. That's
Something
easy.
I can poke, something that reaches beyond the water umbrella, so I
Yep.
can like.
Yeah, absolutely. Check for
Confuse hair.
sinkholes and stuff.
Good thing I'm bald.
Yes.
My mustache is gonna be like.
Like in the
We
cartoons.
are
Just...
in a sauna.
Yes.
Well, and
We're in a fart
before
sauna. Ugh.
before we turned
Yes.
on the water umbrellas, I think Artemis would have looked for like one of the more fire-filled areas for the fire foam grenade
Okay, yeah.
present.
Yeah. What you see is the hillside in front of you before it's covered in mist. The fire gets more intense as you get towards the top of it. And right at the very top, there's like this halo of shimmer, the heat shimmer. The whole top of this appears to be on fire, almost like a volcano almost.
Okay.
So
And
that it appears to be that's where the vast majority of it's coming out. You realize now the rest of it's just leaking out of the sides. The vast majority of this is coming out of the top.
okay. And if I remember correctly, he said to tie it down to something first before throwing it in.
The foam sprayer. Yeah, you want to attach
Yeah.
it to something because it basically goes off like a grenade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Got it.
You could also throw it if you had to. You could see that.
Yeah,
It's, I
that's
mean, it's small enough that it would work. Yeah. Just to give you those options.
Mm-hmm.
So, who's wearing the water umbrellas? I know
I've
who
got
has
one.
them, but who's wearing
I have them.
Yeah.
I have one, but yeah.
Yeah, Sid's gonna turn his on.
them? Artemis and
will
Delilah?
stick
Yeah.
I will stick with Sid.
Okay, so you pop under Sid's umbrella, which gives Artemis the whole one. Yes. All right.
Oh, and she's gonna deal with the grenade thing.
Yeah, you got the grenade as well. So, if you would be so kind as to move over to the encounter page. I found a new way to do stuff. You can see I've covered the encounter with a giant card, so you can't see it.
I noticed.
There it is.
Although technically you could have moved this.
I was like, which one's the encounter?
As you
one?
start
It's
the process going
untitled.
forward, just before I uncover this, I'm going to explain what the gear does, technically speaking. Anybody who's under a water umbrella gets to ignore, not defeat, but ignore 3 consequences of their choice. 3. Ooh, that's a bit scary. Yes, the foam sprayer will allow you to negate, like to truly remove 2 consequences the one time you use it, and the gas masks will negate stun and isolation. In other words, with the gas mask on, you're not going to be overcome by the fumes, and you can see a little bit through the mask. You can see a little better than you could with just your bare eyes out in the methane.
Okay.
So having said that, I didn't put the trauma cards in here. I just put the actual consequences in. So you can see there's actually 6 of them. Because this is a big bad mountain. The way this works, I can see the faces. The 4 you have to in the group. You're going to have to generate 4 successes to get to the top. That's communal amongst them. These ones down here, you're going to have to deal with. Each you are going to have to deal them yourself. However, the bottom 2, stun and isolation, as long as you keep your gas masks on, those 2 don't affect you. They still exist. They just don't affect you.
Yeah, I
So
imagine
there's-
Artemis had hers up like
Yeah.
as they entered the scraps.
So that leaves 4, and the foam sprayer, or sorry, the water umbrellas negate 3. How convenient. You guys
They
pick which
ignore
3. Ignore 3, yeah. So you pick which 3 to ignore. So you only actually have to overcome 1 consequence to have no consequences happen to you. So if you can generate at least 2 successes, you won't take any consequences from this. Does that make sense? So we're going to go in order as to which 3 you'd like to ignore, and how you're also going to tell me. I'm doing more and more of this as we go along. You tell me what skill you're going to use to get you up there. Sid.
Sid is going to use his incredible physical conditioning from years in the boilers.
Absolutely.
That'll be his athletics skill.
Yep.
Um,
Which I assume you are proficient in, and
Yep,
therefore
I am
two
proficient
cards.
in 2
in,
cards.
Diamonds, being your trump suit.
I am going to go for Sid's like.
Okay.
Basically
Which
what
3 are you
see-
going to? Which 3 are you going to offset?
The ones I'm offsetting are fatigue, consumption, and loss,
Okay.
because my
Right.
my apron.
You're in.
ignores-
Yeah. You're. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
your apron takes
Ignores
care of the
injury.
injury, so you got
Yeah.
diddly squiddly. So you can use all your successes on successes. So what are you doing?
He is going to kind of, yeah, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
3 and a 5.
So that's
can't see 'em.
three successes, right? Two
That's three
for
successes.
yeah,
Damn.
two for suits and one for, or sorry, two for adding. Two for suits and one for
Mm.
adding up to 8. You
He's going to take.
tell me how this works. Tell me how you power up this hill.
Well,
3/4 of the way up
Yeah.
this flaming
he's
mountain. Of infinite
he's going
doom.
to do 2 successes, and he's going to get rid of the loss.
Because loss was still an option,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Okay,
I can
yeah.
because I ignore them. That doesn't mean I to get rid of them.
Oh, I see what you're. Okay, so, wow.
I'm making it easier for everyone else.
Sid's a feckin' hero. That's a develop. That is absolutely the development point there. I realize I can give you guys tons of experience because it takes you 2 full circles to actually do anything. So
So yeah, basically what you see Sid, he just he calms down. He adjusts his pack, make sure everything is just
Yeah.
absolutely balanced, and he trudges,
yeah,
just fucking
don't
goes,
look up, just go.
and
Yeah.
he uses the rebar as a walking stick.
Yeah.
He's you can hear him going 1 2 1 2 1 2 to keep him going.
To keeping up the beat.
And
yeah.
I feel sorry for Delilah for having to keep up with him, but at least she's not carrying a whole lot.
But yeah, you are absolutely just this. And I'm seeing the shot from a distance too, like a drone shot from partway
Mhm.
down the valley. You step onto that stuff, and it's like walking onto a lava pool. I almost said peeing, but that's not enough. Like it's like a fire hose on a lava pool. It's that much steam. It's just constant steam because methane burns hot, and the water just in a fine mist is just. Psst. Luckily, it almost all goes out from the spray. Like you're in kind of this weird little, like being in a shower almost, except there's no
Mhm.
water. And yeah, you just walk forward, just watching your feet, looking at this hard plastic develop in front of you as you move forward up this hill.
So
Getting
Bangkok
cooked
in
like
the
a
wet season.
lobster.
Yes. So you get them
Yes.
halfway up that hill. You have an ability, I keep forgetting what it does. The navigated life? Navigate?
When playing in the dark, I draw 2 cards
Right.
instead of 1.
Okay, never mind. You're not.
So
you're
I
not
can
playing in the dark.
actually-
Yeah.
Yeah, that actually becomes super crazy because I can play 2 cards and use them both.
Yes.
It's a skill.
Yep.
So playing in the dark for me is crazy good.
Yep.
Yeah, I am one big old. I have the floofiest mustache.
Yes. Yes. So I guess makes sense. Right behind them, Delilah. You're just sort of pushing up the hill. You're in a position where you can't move out ahead of him.
Nope.
Right. So, what do you do? In this instance, if you wanted, normally it's not allowed, but if you wanted, you could spend any successes you can generate to just make consequences go away. I know you're ignoring pretty much all of them that are there, but you could actually make them go away because I can't, unless you can tell me a way that you can think of getting you guys closer
Well,
without stepping out from underneath the umbrella.
So with my gas mask, I can kind of see.
Yep.
And I can hear him. I can hear things around me, and I
Yes.
can feel the things under me, and I think I use my dexterity to dodge things that I can feel under my feet, or to
Yep.
not step on them quite as hard, to be more sort of reactive to where I'm walking as I follow Sid, and to be able to respond if anything happens with him.
Perfect.
To
I'm
have,
going to
like,
give
a
you more than
faster
that. But how many successes can you generate then in clubs?
2.
2, 8. Yes, there we go. An 8 and 1 club for being a club. 2 successes. What I'm going to give you is more than you asked for. You start doing that, just sort of, and you realize that Sid's just like eyes down walking, right? and you realize you could actually kind of grab the container that's on his back and sort of steer him a little bit just around the worst bit, because he's just like, he's all but blind, right? He's just counting on his stick. So right here he's good, but he hasn't looked over there because he kind of can't, because he's right inside. But because you're not carrying the thing and poking with the stick, we'll give you a little extra range. So you give him, what I'm gonna do is give you, because all of those are dealt with, I'm going to give you one more success. I was going to give you two, but then you get to the top without Artemis having to do anything, and I don't like that. So I'm going to give you one success. The other one is just for being cool. Actually, use one of the other ones to get rid of one of the...
yeah, that's what I thought.
Which one?
For being cool.
What's consumption again?
One of
It
your,
uses
like,
an
it uses
item?
up like one of your things. We use consumption when you had to use up a thing to heal
Oh,
somebody, things like that.
Yeah, okay. I would like to let's knock out consumption, yeah.
Okay. So where that one's gone to. All right. So now you guys have got all of this massively covered. So as you get towards the top of the hill, this makes perfect sense because look who's got the bomb. Artemis, you just, I mean, you got it fairly easy because I'm assuming you would just sort of follow him with yours
Yeah.
on. And then when you get near
Yeah, she
the,
can follow behind so that, like, I guess so that Delilah doesn't get, like, snuck up on by, like, fiery.
well, that too, but
Healthy
also
bits,
I
they
figured, I've been watching lots of stuff on mountain climbing lately because I'm bored. And there's the image of the 100 people lined up to get to the top of Everest. The person going first is the slowest by definition. So you're following them. You've got it fairly easy. You guys are now 3/4 of the way up this thing. Your equipment is just walking in the park. Between the two sprays overlapping, you guys have got like a 2-lane highway of plastic going up the side of this mountain. Plus, your second coating on the areas where you've gone has made it much more stable. I was going to make you guys have to water your way out, but because you kind of doubled your way in and made all these brilliant ideas and great plays, you realize that you are within distance of the top of this place.
Well, and I figure that also since she's, like, kind of knows the
Trash
scrap as much
compactor
as you can know it,
Yeah,
she's also kind of keeping an eye out for any kind of, like, tech lanches that
Yep.
could potentially be coming into their area just because of upset and stuff like that.
absolutely.
Because, like, she can maybe kind of, because the ground is much more stable since she's in the back, she can kind of
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, you got time to do that. So, what skill are you using to get you guys to the top?
I
And your
I
equipment.
have the gear skill,
Yeah.
survival,
Yep. Perfect.
um,
Yeah.
and I have 2 spades.
Oh, 2 successes. Then yeah, they don't
Yeah.
add up to 8, so that is 2 successes.
Yes.
Perfect. So you're going to get the last success, and we're going to get you to the top of this place. But which one of the? Because you're going to have to face these again on the way down. Which one of the consequences would you like to remove?
Um,
Stun and isolation are covered by your gas mask, so even if everything else failed, those 2 would still be covered.
let's go fatigue.
All right. Fatigue is nasty. Losing a handful of cards in the middle of an encounter is nasty,
Yeah.
especially when you imagine having to stop halfway up this hill for 5 minutes
Well, and I
while you
think
waited for your cards to regenerate. Right?
also
Sort of
like
slide
it
down there.
comes from like I think Delilah and Sid are extra covered from injury, so like
Mhm.
it's you know
So what
And
I'm gonna get a tiny bit creative with this last success. You realize as you get up behind them that you've hardly had to use any water at all. Right? You even all the benefits I explained up till now, you still got way more water left than Sid does. So you kind of I'm gonna give you credit for, you sort of tilt the hat a little bit and sort of spray it out in front of you in more of like a fire hose pattern than just around you. So you're
Mhm.
sort of pre-hardening the surface ahead of you. And because of that, Sid can push on with Delilah steering and the 3 of you in this, just this mist.
or like
that-
some kind of weird human train.
Oh, this is
All the steam.
You're like a weird steam Venn diagram because it's two overlapping circles with three people in them, all just doing weird stuff together, and the shapes are changing. And oh,
The scrappers are watching from the distance, like, what the fuck are they doing?
that's it. The city people are here. We're moving to the suburbs, and they're heading towards the outside of the scrap. I don't care what's out there.
Suburb.
We're going to the suburbs. So with that, Sid, you look up just in time to like, what the hell? And poof, you're up against a stub of a wall. It's not the stub of a wall. It's actually the top of a wall and a broken ceiling. You're looking into a one-floor building from halfway up the wall outside. Right, so think of like a foundation that sticks out of the ground sort of that much, and you come up
Yeah.
against that, except when
Chest
you look
high
in,
walls.
it's not a concrete foundation, it's the first floor. So
I've
this,
been watching too much Time Team.
yeah, essentially, yeah, it's like they've come down on top of the villa, right? And it's like just, you're looking at it, except that inside is hollow. It's an actual room. It's an office. There's a weird sort of melted, everything in it is slightly melted, but there's no fire inside the room. It's just the radiant heat from around it. And it's weird because everything's melted. The table, the chair, the garbage can,
Is it like a
the
Salvador
cases,
Dali painting?
the whole, yeah, because everything in this room was made of plastic, recycled plastic as it turns out, and it's all drooping from the heat. You've actually, out of character, this used to be a landfill office.
Ironic.
Poetic?
As you look around the scrap in this building, and you find yourselves in this, with fire all around you, the methane from the garbage dump that it was part of, that's underneath this, all the methane gases is
Oh,
expelling out of that.
no.
You guys you're on top of a mountain-sized bomb, A, and B,
That smells like farts.
that smells like farts, and this is
Yeah.
the office. You look around, and it doesn't take an Artemis to figure this out. There's tech everywhere, but it's almost all melted. So
Oh, fire grenade time?
there's no fire in here.
No, and I,
Yeah. So,
Oh, we lost her.
She froze.
oh, that's okay. It'll take me a second to reset this anyway. So I'm just going to use Adversary 2 here so we can leave this for the way out.
Excuse me.
You're back.
yay!
What can I do with the cards I got left?
For those up
Very
there,
important question.
and down here we get Fatigue.
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 Way.
Fatigue.
Now, question: is it still too hot to turn the water umbrellas off?
No, the split second you come in here, it's not asbestos, but it's much cooler in here because the chimneying effect is happening outside. This is basically like if you think of Time Team, thatched roof. You don't put a chimney in a thatched roof because if you get that much airflow, the fucker will burn down. You let the smoke go out through the thatch, right?
Okay.
This is like that. It's going out through the garbage. This is like a plug in the top that is not letting smoke out or fire into this little room.
Okay.
So as soon as you step in here, you can shut off all your safety gear, except that once you're in here, there are still, you can see now it's in Adversary 2, this is this encounter. You don't technically know that there are 4 things in the top row. That's things to be found, is the way that I figured this out. And then all your rules still apply, but there are only 3 consequences here.
Okay.
But the isolation is the only one that the masks work on.
Great. That's the 2 mask ones.
Yeah, Delilah's gonna keep her mask on.
Mhm.
Yep,
Yeah.
I assume all of you would. Yeah.
Understandably.
So there is fatigue, which basically is, in this instance, is represented by looking and looking and looking and not finding anything. And that's going to be represented by you losing cards. In this case, it would be 3 because there's 3 consequences there. You can ignore one, but it's still there. So you'd have to drop 3 cards. And injury, which would do a trauma to you in one of the 4 schools of trauma. So, looking down at what you've got left in your hands, first of all, you could take 5 minutes. You could take a break. There's no, because you can offset these, if you keep the shower on, you can offset these other 2, right? Technically, this is so stupid, but mechanically, if you stood just outside with the shower on, you could offset all of this shit. But the second you step inside, the shower technically doesn't work. So 2 of never mind. You get 5 minutes if you want them. So that allows you
I think
to.
Delilah definitely needs a breather.
Yeah, take a breather
He's
for
puffing and
sure.
puffing up the hill.
Yeah, I think just for sake of actually, but I think actually with a round like that, he probably would still have enough gas in him to keep going for a bit. So Sid's
Sure.
going to he's going to start looking.
Okay.
I'm going to use oh gosh.
The obvious one would be perception, but be creative. Reasoning, I can absolutely see that too.
Yeah. Now, the problem
Athletics,
is
just
I've
digging
got-
holes. Yeah, you
I've
tell
got
me.
a lot of single successes, but I don't have enough to go up to 8, and I don't have perception, so I am going to drop an ace.
Okay. So that is a 1 success.
That's 1 success.
So, let's do the successes as groups, because, yeah, that's how I said we were going to do it. So, you find one thing, but unless somebody does something about it, you're going to have to face both consequences of fatigue and injury.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the other 2 of you can see Sid is in Sid mode. That's what we're going to call this now. You saw it coming up this hill. He just locks and loads. You can see him walking through the dangerous areas. You can see him doing things that are taking more energy than they should. You can see him almost hurting himself all over the place. What do you do? Yep.
I'm gonna do kind of what I did as we were going up the mountain. I'm going to try to steer him, but also do that that like Looney Tunes like keep the baby safe trope.
Yeah. Yep. Going ahead of him and just deflecting.
Buttons and
Yep.
Indy.
Yeah.
Perfect. So what skill would you be using for that? I love this.
Dexterity again.
Dexterity, absolutely. So how many successes can you generate in a dexterous manner?
2.
2. Wow. Okay, so so you're gonna, if you like, you can get rid of both of those, because you're basically prevention mode, right? So I
Yeah.
read that you get rid of both of these,
Both fatigue.
you actually
and
remove them. Yeah, they're gone. So isolation is the only one that's left. So you yourself didn't find anything because you used all of your turn to protect the Sid. Perfect.
I think as I'm doing that, I'm just like, oh my god, look where you're going.
What I step on this time?
Like everything.
I
This
have a,
one's stuck to my boot.
Yeah.
I have
Oh,
a
I
bit
think
of
it was living.
a weird skill idea, and
Please
you can
do.
definitely say no.
Yep.
But we're
Impress me.
looking for strange tech in this office that is
Yes.
now like half melted.
Yes. You are both an artist and a technosopher, so advantage for Dolly.
Well, I was thinking, because if we're looking for where we could potentially find interesting tech
Yes.
in this office, it's
Yes.
looking at like the human condition. Could I use empathy?
Yes.
I had the same idea.
I
That
totally
could
love
be
this.
kind of a what would I or what
What would
if
I do?
Psychoanalyzing, where would I
it's,
put
It's the
things?
where would I put the things? Yeah, where would I put
Yeah.
the important stuff? Absolutely.
Julio,
Make a play an empathy play for me, please, which
Empathy play.
is hearts.
hearts.
Brilliant idea. Do you have any hearts?
I have
Ooh,
3 successes.
successes.
In hearts.
Wow.
Like, one of the reasons why I was like, can I make empathy work?
Yes. Holy shit. That's everything. That's all you find. All the other things. So once again, you guys,
Sid's
like this
lifting
polished
shit, looking
team.
for things.
the three. I
Artemis
just want
is
to
like-
back up a bit. You guys got to the bottom of the hill and just went into friggin' pro mode. It's like synergy, synergy, synergy. We're at the top of the hill untouched. We're in here searching for stuff. Synergy, synergy, synergy. We're all untouched and we found all the shit. Like the steam hasn't even settled from your journey up here, and you have.
I gotta get down though.
So, Sid, yeah, tell me, you're just pulling stuff up and around.
Mhm.
You find it's like I said, everything in here is plastic. You find first you see just like this plastic tube sticking out of the garbage in the garbage can, and it's got electronics inside it. You've seen enough of them now. You've been crunching around on them for days out here. You know what they look like, but these ones are still in situ. They're still inside the tube. And you pull out the tube, and there's at the end of it, you can see it used to go into a cone shape, but that bit's broken off, and there's just like a couple wires sticking, connecting the two bits together. There's buttons on this thing, and there's a crank on the back, but it's clearly broken.
Okay.
That's what you find.
Yeah, he's gonna put that in a little. I'm not gonna call it a burlap sack, but
It's your little
It's
bag
his
of
loot
stuff.
bag.
Yeah. Yeah, Artemis. So yeah, Delilah, you're sort of that. Sid, nope, Sid, don't touch. Nope, that's not a fine, Sid. That's
Formula.
poison. You know. Yeah. So that's your thing. And while you're doing that, Artemis, you look around and you see. We talked about the desk before. It is a plastic desk, but it's got one great big drawer in the bottom, and a couple little drawers at the top. So probably there. Spit it out. That's disgusting. So you go over and kind of crank, and it's like I said, it's a melted plastic drawer, so it takes some. You're never going to get this closed again, but eventually, the door pops.
I mean, it's gonna
open.
melt anyway. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
You look in the
you
bottom.
pull hard enough, it just starts to.
Yeah, just sort of. Oh yeah, perfect. You heave on it. Instead of opening it just goes and stretches out and allows you to reach in and pull out the stuff. He spends all day working with a
Hot
huge
knife, hot
hammer, and
knife.
everybody's worried he's got a
you can
knife.
start a YouTube channel.
Yeah. So you start pulling stuff out of there. The first things you pull out are these little metal tubes, about this long and about that big around. They got a bump on one end, the other end's flat metal.
I found the batteries.
You did. You don't know that's what they are, but you found them.
The batteries?
Technically, again,
That's
out of
what you
game.
called them.
These ones are dead, but yes, you did find the batteries. That's Artemis. All of these are Artemis.
Oh, the
just so we know.
batteries.
So you found the batteries. You also find in there, in the same drawer. The next time you shove your hand in and pull it out, it's a plastic box about that long, and it's all melted and gooey and ooey, and it's got wires coming out of one end with this weird little fixture on it. It also, it's melted open at one end, and inside you can see a sort of weird gel. It's actually another kind of battery. It's a lithium battery.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If
I
you're
was trying
yeah,
to
out of
picture it, and I
character,
was
yeah,
like,
they're a plastic
Oh,
flat pack battery. Yeah, they don't
Yeah.
like NiCad batteries. Yeah,
We're gonna have to like really, really careful with that.
you
'Cause I know what
definitely do
happens
not
if you-
want lithium to start on fire.
Well, you don't want to put it in water either.
Well, actually, the lithium batteries are okay because they're in a gel. But you do not want to light them on fire. Burn it somewhere around 3,000 degrees Celsius, and you can actually use the fire to cut iron. It's brutal.
Mhm.
And you guys got to walk out through a fire. But you wouldn't know any of that. So all you know is you found those two things. The last thing you pull out of there looks like the thing that Sid found, except it's all in a piece. It's all together. What it is one of those clear wind-up survival flashlights.
oh,
Like
okay.
the
yeah.
LED flashlights, except this is
Uh-huh.
clear. We sold these in the science store I worked at years ago.
Mhm.
They were so you could see it work.
Mhm.
It's the clear tube, and at this end is
You
like
can
a
see the
couple
little
LEDs,
dynamo and just
and you see the
crank
little
it.
dynamo,
Those
and it's got the crank.
Those clear phones in the 90s.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. And I decided
Game
not to
Boys.
do
I
it
have
as
clear
the,
I
Game
the
want
ones that you
one
shook.
so bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there were the ones that you shook to charge them up. But yeah, this one has got the
Big
crank on it.
weights.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. You see, Artemis, it appears to be in one piece. It appears to be, you don't know what it does, but it appears to be functional. And you can see there's a button and a crank on it.
Can she try cranking it? Because
Yep.
she's curious.
You turn the crank and you can see the thing inside. There's looks weirdly, the feel actually on the crank feels very much like when you were in Verity's office spinning the little crank
that-
there.
Yeah,
And
she
you
didn't
can
do the
see-
spinning, but yeah.
Yeah, and you can see inside. You can see the armature. You can see, you wouldn't know right now that they're magnets, but you'd be able to tell when you turn because it resists. And
She's
you'd
taking
really damn
notes.
sure be able to see the copper coils because it's a series of copper coils with the magnet.
Yeah,
that
I mean,
spins
this is
inside,
what
right?
this is what she does.
Yeah.
So she's like looking at these new things, like this
Then
is
the-
fascinating. I'm
Then
gonna
there's a short
study
little
it
gap
before we
from
give
the
it to you.
dynamos to like 2 printed circuit boards and then another little piece of wire that goes up to the bulbs at the front. You spin the crank on the back and nothing happens. But you can see along the back of it a row of little green lights slowly lights up one at a time until they're all lit up, but nothing else has happened.
Can she press the button?
You press the button and blam, bright light. LED, that white
She was looking down the
blue-
barrel of the
Yeah, that
flashlight like
whitish
Luke
blue-
Skywalker.
Yeah, that old school LED light that is the whitest of whites, right? It's just blam. Yeah.
She will press the button again. Does it go off?
And yeah, it turns off, and you look down, and one of the little green dots is gone. So it appears
And
to
she's
be
blind.
yeah. Like that. So what you can figure out
Oh,
just
this-
standing here is it
y-
works. There's a
Okay.
power bar. It only takes maybe 15, 20 seconds to crank it up. You don't know how long it'll last for. But you were
We
told
lost
you
her
get
again
to
for a
keep
sec.
stuff that works. And yeah,
There we go.
Thunder Escape, you were popping in and out again, but that's okay.
I'm sorry.
It's all good.
It's okay.
Don't be sorry. So yes, this thing works, and your rule with Verite was you get to keep the things that work.
Nice.
So, with that, as you look outside, I've been hinting at this the whole show. It's getting dark. You were lighting candles before you came out here. You just climbed a mountain of blue fire, so it seemed all bright and shiny. You are now standing in the only bright spot, in this pool of blue light and mist, in the middle of the scrap. Darkness, all the way from you to the city of Florence that you can see just on the other side of that great big wall. It's not far, but it's dark.
You hear Sid just sort of grumble under his breath.
Let's have the reactions because we're going to go out on these. So as you turn around and realize, again, I'm going to use the Everest because I've been watching all these videos lately. That moment when you realize you've summited Everest, but the sun's about to go down, and you're going to have to descend in the dark. What does that hit you with? In the face of all this, and it's kind of similar too, because you literally climbed a mountain, but that's not it. You just had this great sense of accomplishment, right? You found these things. You know Verity is going to be able to use these things. You have accomplished a mission. Now, how do you get out alive? Sid, what are the thoughts?
Sid's kind of problem solving.
Yeah.
His immediate thought is to not fall into the scree, and kind of doing a little bit of mental math. He wants to make sure he doesn't know if he has enough water.
Yeah.
He's going to take the Brell off, and he's going to start looking at that.
Yeah. Good. Well, yeah. Brilliant. You're inside. You don't need to use it. So yes. You didn't bring any Sherpas. Yeah. There's a whole city.
You
full
sure
of them.
Sid
could've
wasn't the
programmed.
Sherpa?
Yeah.
He just fucking motors.
Yes.
No, the Sherpas are supposed to have local knowledge.
Yeah. Well, you got Artemis.
Make
You guys,
Artemis the Sherpa
you guys
then?
split your Sherpas.
No, we
One of
make
you does
Artemis
the
the
heavy
Sherpa.
lifting. Oh, wow! It takes both of you to be a Sherpa. What does that say? Sid,
Sherpas are
so
fucking badass.
you're standing there. You figured out the water problem. What else are you figuring out as the sun goes down in the scrap? Oh, and to add to the fun, one little corner of the building you're in starts to drop. It kind of goes, thunk, and there's a flame outside. Maybe it's you guys moving around in here, but this building's starting to sink.
Yeah, his is like
You might be
Trying
here.
to
It
make
might
sure-
last all night. You don't know yet. We'll find that out next week. But how do you respond?
make
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, he's concerned to make sure everybody's okay.
Okay.
Wants to And yeah, his thought is getting everybody back into town.
Right. So Delilah, you've been kind of running a herd on Mad Sid since the bottom of the hill here.
Scientist.
All of a sudden, he's just like he snaps and he's back in dad mode, right? Because like Sid's kind of got dad mode going, right? So he pops back into that all of a sudden and starts taking care of business. You realize the situation. What do you do?
She really wants to be like, took you long enough, but she's just like, pick your battles.
Yeah.
She
Ooh, that's a develop. Yeah, that's a character develop moment for sure. Yep.
sees and feels that corner of
The building.
the
Yeah.
of the building
Yeah.
like start to collapse, and she just looks at the two of them and goes, "We need to leave."
It just settles. It doesn't like it's not the. It's just like a
She's still like, "We
Yeah.
need to leave."
absolutely.
It's like the sound of a snowbank settling in the
So-
sun. Just,
So Sid, is it fair to say that your initial plan was to stick it out here, or you want to get? No, you said you wanted to get back to the city, so you're getting ready to leave too, right? So
yeah,
that's the two of you.
he knows that this is not a safe place. I
Artemis,
mean,
Yes.
what is your response to this? The two of them are like, "We need to get out of here."
Yeah, when she first noticed that, like, she kind of like found the last thing and was like, "Shit, it's dark." She's like, "Fuck! If I
Uh-huh.
die out here, Koas will never let me hear the end of it."
Oh yes, fair enough. Yeah.
And she kind of taking stock, and she just found found a flashlight, which might
Yep.
be helpful.
It certainly could be.
When we don't have dark vision, it's not D&D.
Mm.
So
Well,
that might be helpful.
I mean, Sid kind of does.
I mean, yeah, Sid kind of does, but the rest
oh
of
yeah,
us.
Sid, you're in darkness now.
But yeah, she's in the same mind as Delilah and Sid. Like, we need to get out of this area that is
Yeah.
like basically a ticking time bomb. Not that she necessarily knows it's going to explode or anything, but like it's dangerous than other parts.
Yep.
And try and navigate their way, at the very least, to the nearest exit.
Yep.
If not, like,
It's
if they
not
have
that
to, like,
far,
over the
'cause
spur.
I remember
but-
saying this earlier. It's not that
Oh,
far
right, it was close
from
by, to the
here
rail
to
yard.
your way out.
Right, that's
Yep.
true.
So yeah, you guys are all getting ready to do that. Who's got cards left?
I have
Okay.
2, 3.
I have
Who's got
4.
clubs left? Mental. You got one? You got one?
No.
No?
No.
Sid?
Mm,
I have 4.
It's
nice.
perfect. I'm not going to make you play it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know, which makes
Or
this makes
A4.
perfect sense story wise. You're the engineer. This is an engineer thing, right? You're an engineer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I keep forgetting engineer. Architects put people. I had to change it in my head because architects put people together in this game, so I had to change yeah, instead of designing buildings. But you are an engineer. You realize from this movement of the building, this isn't a one-story building. You're on the top floor of something that's at least 3 stories tall.
Ugh.
And the whole thing is sinking into the mountain. You do the math real quick. The mountain you climbed this afternoon to get here is about 5 stories tall. So this could sink about 20, about 7
Yeah,
meters before
right.
it gets to the water line.
Right into the fucking caldera.
Did you
Yeah,
say
no.
clubs was mental? Clubs isn't mental.
Clubs is gear. Or not gear.
Not
mental,
gear,
it's
Clubs
steam.
is
Clubs
steam.
is steam, which is your mental capacity. Dexterity, readiness, perception, and reasoning.
Oh, that's right. I
Yeah.
forgot dexterity is.
Yeah.
They're weird.
You know what?
It's- Yeah.
Don't mind me. Tell me to shut up and
No,
keep going.
no, we're learning. That's all good. None of us have played this game more than 4 sessions, so
Hey,
we're good.
I'm still getting my head wrapped around on flesh and steel because steel is your body stat.
Yes.
I know.
Yep.
That's so weird.
And steel, steel is your physical, and flesh is your social abilities. It's
Yeah.
I get it. I get
It
it.
makes sense when you
but
think about it.
Yeah.
But
Your
But
heart is
automatic
diamonds,
is like-
and it's about your heart, right? That's you got to
Yeah.
look at the first ones there. So with those thoughts, Sid, do you say anything?
I don't think so because it's not really relevant to the task at hand. If we try to explore deeper, we're just going to end up dead.
Yes.
We're gonna end up cooked like an egg on
Yeah.
the
You
hot
You could
sidewalk.
put it under at least under notice as a place to maybe come back to
Mhm.
If it still exists when
if
we
it
get
still
back.
exists. Yes.
Yeah.
So, as you prepare to leave, the curtain drops on the three of you in the middle of the scrap, and the drone flies down the hill into the valley down below you, and all the way around the flaming hill. It looks like almost like a medieval siege. There's hundreds of technosophers all standing around looking up, waiting to see.
It's gonna happen.
Taking
Waiting
bets.
to see. They can't go in. They've never been able to go in. But you buggers did. And that means you've got to come out.
Mhm.
I've got a gun.
And
I've
with
got a
that,
hammer.
with that, oh, ice cream is disappointing if it's melted. Sorry, hellhounds. But as good as melted ice cream is, it's still not as good as not melted ice cream. And I will be disappointed if I have to eat melted ice cream. But with that,
Quartet of minute roaches play their stringed instruments as they go down with the ship.
sounds like something that was
The
cut from the
Titanic.
Muppet movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Pepe and all his little friends, and then right at the end, wait, we
They're
can swim.
Prawns, not cockroaches.
That's the thing. Yeah,
wait,
exactly.
Yeah.
Right at the
He
end, wait,
totally would.
we can swim.
More proof that any movie is improved by adding Muppets.
Yes.
I adore Muppets.
Oh, I love them.
Muppet
Muppets in
Christmas Carol.
Space peak. Although my childhood was dominated by Muppet Treasure Island.
Oh,
Muppet Family
Muppet Christmas Carol.
Muppet Family
That's
Christmas.
a good one too.
The
That was
Muppet
my.
Show.
We watched that.
The
Muppet,
Muppet Show. I've
yeah,
been
the
rewatching
Muppet
that.
Show. The
Live.
Muppet Show.
The first time ever. Yeah. Oh, it was amazing. The I almost
one
had to
100%.
physically fight to stay in the room the night that Alice Cooper guest starred. My parents were not having none of that, and then I kept saying, "It's on TV. It's gonna have to be okay. They let it on TV. It's not live TV. They recorded this. They had to let it on TV. It's gonna be okay." It was not okay as far as they were concerned, but by the time that happened, it was too fucking late, and I'd seen it.
I just
So,
watched the one
um,
with Carol Channing.
That,
Oh, the one with
yep,
Carol Channing.
that- yep,
is-
yep.
nightmare.
Vincent Price was also an exceptionally good one.
I
Anyway.
really like the Bernadette Peters one.
Mm-hmm.
The Don
The
Rickles.
George Burns one is
Oh,
good.
Don
The
Don
Steve
Rickles.
Martin one.
Don Rickles keeps cracking up because he can't not talk to the puppeteer. So like 10 times there's just, why am I talking to this puppet? And yeah.
The Steve Martin episode though.
Yep. Oh, he is a Muppet. It was there's a couple people that were on that show that you just go, they should just live there because yeah, Steve Martin's a Muppet.
He's
He's
always kind
perfect.
of been.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that he hasn't aged in 40 years.
Yeah, that's his humor, right? He's absolutely perfect. Robin Williams was another one. I don't think he was ever on it, but he would have been
No, I
perfect
don't
for that
think he
because
was.
he's
He
a
was on
Muppet too.
Sesame
He was a
Street one
Muppet too.
time.
Did you see the bit with him and Elmo that they're never going to be able to use?
The one where he says fuck.
It comes on with the stick and it's just an improv about what you can do with a stick, and at the end of it, they're not going to be able to use fucking any of that.
I've seen that clip.
That and the Cookie Monster shattering the guy with the talk show, not
Letterman?
Colbert.
Leno.
John Stewart.
No, not Jon Stewart.
Jimmy Fallon.
He's a
'cause he cracks at
comedian.
everybody.
He does it's a comedian's talk show. He's British, I
Steve
think.
Corden.
Oh, it's
Craig-
John
Craig-
Oliver.
John Oliver, there it is.
Craig-
Thank you.
oh,
Yes,
no.
John Oliver and Cookie Monster is. Look that up afterward. It is. If you ever need a laugh, the guy playing Cookie Monster John Oliver cannot function for minutes at a time, and every time he takes a breath and he's going to function again, the guy playing Cookie Monster says something else, and that they're off again. But that's how you're going to keep yourself busy until you come back and watch us here.
Elmo sinks down into the box he's sitting on.
Yeah. In the distance, Statler and Waldorf
Those are
prepare to say something
Full
rude.
Kermit.
But that's them. This is us. It's time for the thank yous. And I mean them every week, but this show has got me. This show has absolutely grabbed me. I love this. We spent like 45 minutes tonight going over what you did at work, and somehow it was interesting, right? I mean, it was not only interesting, it was really
Today at work,
Yeah.
I did.
yeah.
We did
and-
not fuck around. We world builded.
Yes.
45 minutes.
Oh yeah,
That
absolutely.
was world building.
And backstory and
character
tying
development.
things in and
Yeah.
character building.
Artemis
and,
is adopting a teenager.
I really like this system of experience, because I can just fire it at you. Because, like I said, it takes two of each to be able to do anything, right? So, yeah, I can just reward you guys all the time. I love this game.
I'm full up on develop now.
Yeah, oh, you got all
I'm
three?
full up on develop and inflict.
Okay.
I
So, what do you guys
I was
need?
not there for the first time we did it.
Let's do this.
So I only have like 3/4 of one gear right now.
Well, still, that's your one thing. What one thing do you have to do to get your first experience point?
Inflict, because
Yep.
I have not inflicted or had anything inflicted upon me.
Fair,
Yet.
enough. The good
Yeah, it's
news
probably
is
next
that's the
time.
easiest one to get. Just get
Yeah.
hit. Just don't get rid of the injury. It's literally something you can do for yourself because of the way this game works. Just
Mhm.
don't get rid of the injury consequence
mean,
once.
Here's the thing: I have a king in my deck somewhere.
Oh, yes,
I
that'll do it,
fully
yeah.
expect that to happen.
Yeah, things will happen. So yes, awesome.
But yeah,
Just waiting on that king. Hello.
I mean, not waiting necessarily, just knowing it's there,
It's coming, yeah.
lurking.
Looming.
Standing there menacingly.
So let's get to the thank yous. Oh, this is so good. Thank you so much to Wayward Knight. Thank you. I appreciate this.
That's me.
This is a game that I thought of you when I thought of this, because I've seen you play other characters before, and I wanted to see you in this world. And this character's already developing really interesting. That coming down off their high horse sort of thing. That sort of, hey, wait a minute, something else. There's another option. Even you're still at that point. Never mind, it's better, but you're still it's an option. I love the way you're building this. Your acting background shows in your character development. Thank you. Thunderscape 7, Robin. Oh, you never cease to amaze me. Your characters all have a common sort of focus. They're all sort of organized people. But beyond that, they are all so different. And Artemis is that whole scene with the teaching the new person was
really
felt
sweet.
so natural and so older sister. That's the vibe I was getting off of that. Just teaching
mean,
the young
it's
one. Yeah.
Handy, I am an older sister.
Yeah.
In real life, not in the
Yes.
game.
Yes. So thank you for that. It's wonderful to watch this again. These characters are already so three-dimensional in only a couple, not even a handful of sessions yet. And Bison, Sid, this polarity that is Sid, right? The I am dad and I am maniac. It's just like the barbarian dad thing. It's so good because it's all
he
about
the- is he the weird
responsibility until
uncle?
there's none.
I always play the weird uncle.
Yes.
Haven't you
yeah,
noticed that?
Yeah.
Big
Yeah,
Fred,
no, I'm
Mr.
just-
Box.
Yeah.
I'm the weird uncle.
But you keep coming up with different ways of doing it, and this one is so much fun because, like I said, when that do things, right, that work ethic hits, right? It's just I am work, and then it's like, all right, kids, everybody out of the pool. Yep, nope, you can't go in for half an hour after you ate, and they're both in the same body, and I'd love that tension. You're gonna
And
start
the
having
funny
to
thing
give
is-
yourself shit for behaving poorly pretty soon, and I'm really looking forward to that. What was I doing? I put them in a bad spot, right?
Oh no. What have I
yeah.
done?
I wasn't being a hero, I was being an idiot. But yeah, that's your conversation to have. But all of these characters so well developed. Chat, you guys were a blast tonight because we had the fun that's in there all the time, the engagement that's in there all the time, plus conversations on this side, plus jokes and all the good stuff. But the whole time, it never drifted away from the story. Right. Sometimes you watch chat and it's like they get bored and they start doing their own thing over there in chat. And, that doesn't happen in this show. And I'm proud to say that doesn't happen. So thank you to chat for that. Thank you to all the fine folks on YouTube in the future watching this. There's a ton of you. The algorithm likes us. Apparently, and we are getting very high numbers compared to our other shows on YouTube for this show, and that makes me feel even better about it. Yes, yes. Internally consistent game breaking. I am all about. But with that, that's all the thank yous, and that's all for tonight. Tune in 6 nights a week, although for the next couple of weeks that's going to change a little bit because of availability. But tune in most nights of the week to see us do something between 6 and about 8 in Pacific
At
that
6.
time. Yes, at 6-ish, at or near the top of the hour. But until then, please be nice to each other. Good night.